Good morning, everyone. It's me, your host, Simon Dexter. How you doing? So, as some of you may have noticed with my very short video yesterday, that I noticed that Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is finally on the horizon. Good. Good. But yeah, the Hug Me I'm Scared isn't the only project I've been keeping my eye on. Five Nights at Freddy's is fucking phenomenal. It is a horror masterpiece. Seriously, it's so beautiful to me. Oh, and man, I'm fucking bewildered at how fast Scott can get this shit out. Scott Cawthon being the creator, of course. And holy crap, it's 3 games under a year. I'm so impressed. So impressed. But I wanted to think of how I could add to the community. It's like, I could do Let's Plays. But I don't really want my channel to be a Let's Play channel yet, unless I have to fall back on that for extra video content sometime down the line, but right now I'm fine. I don't need to worry about that. So I was wondering how I could give back. It's like, well, I could just do the things I do for Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. I can talk about them. So I figured I'd do a little analysis of the trailer and all that came out yesterday and all the stuff that we can probably expect from 3. Because, oh, I thought it'd be fun. But however, everywhere I go, I've been noticing a lot of sour grapes in our basket, and I thought I'd settle some scores here. Where do I begin with all the negativity? Five Nights at Freddy's is so boring. All you do is sit there. That's rather the point. You see, most horror games, you get to run away, or hide, or at least defend yourself. But in this, you don't. You're stuck there, waiting. And you can do one of 2 things. You can be light on your feet, or you can die. Because if you don't pay attention for a millisecond, you're fucked. And if that doesn't scare you to some degree, I don't know what will. Frankly, I think it's genius that Scott went with more of a limitation of not moving and making that scary. That's brilliant. And if there's one thing that's supposed to make you feel scared is being defenseless, and you practically are in Five Nights at Freddy's in general. Everything you usually have is maybe a flashlight, maybe a door, maybe a mask. That's it. I don't know what we're going to have in 3, but I'll tell you this much, it's not going to be much. It's so repetitive and so reliant on jump scares. Not if you're good at the game. I once had a playthrough where I made it through 4 nights without dying once. And that was the most tense playthrough I have ever done, and I did not see a single jump scare. Not once. The only reason I died is because I ran out of power at 4 AM on goddamn night 5, and Freddy got me. I don't see the jump scares as the scary part, I see them as punishment for fucking up. I see the scary part as the dread of fucking up. Because, yeah, loud noise and jumping at you can get old after you've died about 50,000 times. But if you're good, it doesn't happen. And then the only fear you have is that you're gonna fuck up. These sequels are coming out too fast, and the world is scary, and I don't like change. You do realize Scott Cawthon is an independent game developer, right? He's not working with anyone else. No higher-up is paying him. The only people paying him are us. And he only has about 4 games under his belt, and 3 of them are Five Nights at Freddy's. The other one was so bad that it got so bashed that he almost quit gaming in general. So, did you ever stop to think that maybe he might want to do this for a living? And as soon as the money flow stops, he might want to start putting out something new so that he can get more? Maybe? Huh? Did you? Because yeah, that's how the system works. That's how the business works. If I might paraphrase something Ivan Moody said, if you want to stay in the game, you have to keep pushing out material. That's the only way you're going to make any money and keep your career going. So, if you really can't handle these sequels coming out too fast, I mean, you're a little ingrate then, because I think it's fantastic we're getting these sequels out that fast. Most of us bitch because the next sequel to the next big game we're waiting for, looking at you, Kingdom Hearts, is taking forever to be made, and he's cranking them out like that. I do kind of hope he moves on to something new eventually, but as long as he keeps changing the mechanics, I see nothing wrong with more Five Nights at Freddy's at all, so long as they're made by him. Why do people have to keep putting theories in places where they don't belong? Seems like they're having fun, and I hate fun. Now, I will concede that some of these theories are pulled out of thin air, with no basis to them whatsoever. If they were on Cruel and Unusual Storytime, they would get the hammer hardcore. But, you gotta remember, Simon on Cruel and Unusual Storytime is different than Simon in real life. I'm trying to be critical on my other show. Here, well, all I can say is I'm sorry people are having fun and you don't like it. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's has a pretty deep lore if you look around, and people just want to play with it. What's so wrong with that? At all. Like, even if it's not proper or if it's great, as long as they're having fun, that's all that matters. And if you don't like it, well, go fuck yourself, because it's really not your concern. You can ignore things if you don't want to see them, you know? Some people. Okay, that's it for my bitching. Now that I've sufficiently pissed off some of you, let's get to the actual part I talked about at the beginning! Yay! Now this teaser has set some pretty high standards for me, because goddamn if it wasn't freaky. So, let's see what we can gather first off. Firstly, we are no longer working at Fazbear's Pizza. We're working at Fazbear's Frights, a horror attraction. Yes, they turned our pizza restaurant into a haunted house. Good. They are not making this job easier for us. Jesus Christ. And it supposedly takes place 30 years after the last location closed down, which was the location at Five Nights at Freddy's 1. And garnering that the last location closed down, people have used some math based on what you earn as minimum wage and have sort of guessed that it was in the 90s somewhere. So this game takes place way in the future, like 2020 somewhere. Wow. I don't think that'll make much of a difference on the story, but that's the plot, and I'm cool with that. And one of the first things we see throughout the thing, other than the location actually looks very similar to the original, rather than the well, not the original, but the 1 in 1 rather than the 1 in 2. But one of the first things we see are lines of text reading, "He will come back. He always does. We have a place for him." Who is he? Now, if my guess is he is referring to the main animatronic that is shown throughout everything, who is going to be the animatronic of this game. But who is he exactly? My guess is he is an animatronic from the original restaurant. Not the 1 in 2, but the one before 2. Now here's sort of the timeline as we can see it as presented to us in the games. There was an original restaurant, which I've heard is called Fredbear's Pizza, but I've never actually seen anything about that in the game. Maybe I wasn't paying attention or something, but I'm not going to say that's true. But there was an original restaurant. There was the restaurant in 2, which was really high-tech and nice, and that's where the bite of 87 and the murder of the 5 children supposedly happened. And then there was the 3rd restaurant, which is the restaurant in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and they dumbed down everything. They made the animatronics not as advanced. They put in doors to protect the night watch, but since they spent so much money on the 2nd restaurant, they had a budget, meaning they couldn't keep the power on nearly as long, which really fucked us up. And then there's this restaurant, and I'm assuming that this animatronic is from the 1st restaurant before 2. But who is he? We don't. It looks like a rabbit, so we're all assuming it's sort of an old form of Bonnie, and most people have gone to call him Golden Bonnie, but I'm not calling him anything until the game comes out. He's just the new animatronic for now. And I'm wondering who he is and what he has to do with anything. I'm assuming he would have to do something with the original close down of the original restaurant. That's just me, though. We'll find out the lore as soon as the game comes out. But I thought I'd just pick that apart, because that's something that was really curious to me. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here real quick, because I wanted to read the synopsis of the game to sort of go into my next statement, but as soon as I did, there was an announcement from Scott on the green light, and I would like to read that for you since I'm right here. Talk about good timing, right? It wasn't on earlier, so let's see. Okay. Thanks to all your awesome support, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 has hit #1 on Steam Greenlight. I was really unprepared for such an outpouring of great comments and upvotes. I'm very grateful and humbled, smiley face. I want to take a second to debunk a rumor that the game will be released on February 5th, however. Although I've made a lot of progress on the game, there is still a lot of work to be done. I'm working hard to make a great game for all of you, so try to be patient. Thanks again for your support and comments. Scott. Wow. Okay, so kind of a bummer. I was hoping it could be out really soon because it moved pretty fast with the last one, but I'm glad he said something, and wow, I'm not surprised it didn't make it to #1. As soon as we heard it, there was just a thunderstorm. Okay, why did I close that? I was going to read the thing. I'm going to read this, okay? Okay, 30 years after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closed its doors, the events that took place there have become nothing more than a rumor and a childhood memory. But the owners of Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction, are determined to revive the legend and make the experience as authentic as possible for patrons, going into great lengths to find anything that might have survived decades of neglect and ruin. At first there were only empty shells, a hand, a hook, and an old paper plate doll. But then a remarkable discovery was made. Makes me think about the new animatronic. The attraction now has one animatronic. So like I said, this is just a totally different animatronic. I'm assuming it's the first one. The first Bonnie, perhaps. But also the line, there's only one animatronic. That leads to the gameplay I was trying to get to. And firstly, I'm calling shenanigans on that. Been fooled before, because I'm not trusting anything about just one animatronic until I see that there's only one animatronic. But there are a few things that lead to gameplay elements that could help with the one animatronic system. Firstly, there's this. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have something to pay attention to again, just like the Marionette before and Foxy before that. But keep in mind, as long as you have things to pay attention to, that makes it really easy for an animatronic to sneak up on you. And we honestly don't know how difficult or advanced the AI for this animatronic's gonna be. Like, rather than starting on 1, like Bonnie and them did in the early games, you could be starting on like difficulty 15 and going up from there. You never know. And this one was pointed out by a Tumblr user. I did not grab their name, I'm very sorry. But just know I'm not stealing it from you. If you're watching this, know I know someone else came up with the idea. This was not mine, but I thought this was really cool and thought I would point it out as well. Take a look at this map. There's no way you can see that. Sorry about that, but I'm not re-recording, so when you get a second, take a look at the map for yourself. But if you notice, at the north end of the map and the south end of the map, there are two just sort of little protrusions, two little boxes, one right next to your room and one on the other end of the map. Well, what could these be? Well, the Tumblr user I was looking at says that they look like exits, and that she believes, I'm assuming it was a she, that rather than just keep making sure that the animatronic can't get to you, you have to make sure the animatronic can't leave the building either. That would be a fucking great addition, because you don't think of that. They don't really leave the restaurant in the early games, but thinking of them leaving and causing havoc in the town, ooh my, that'd be scary. And that would also mean you'd actually have to pay attention to the cameras for a change, because if you saw the animatronic next to the exit, you would have to close it immediately, or else he'd probably get out and then you'd lose the game. And I can assume that would actually make it really challenging and really difficult and really hair-pullingly frustrating. But we'll see. That's just something someone pointed out and I thought was really cool. Frankly, that's kind of it for now. I mean, the new animatronic is horrifying. The atmosphere is really built up. The ideas of what could possibly happen during this are plentiful, and hopefully they keep us on our toes. And I'm just looking forward to the game, guys. I hope this was interesting for some of you. Hope it helped educate or helped you just get just as excited as I am, or helped you realize how much of a dork I am. I don't really care. As long as you pulled away something from this video, that's good enough for me. And I will see you all hopefully Friday. I do plan to do a Cruel and Unusual story time this week. I got a suggestion from a fan, and I'm hoping to do that. I'll see you all then.